Tomorrow, the Green Bench Talk initiative will launch, and joining us for a quick conversation and to share some insight is Terry Ince, founder of the CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, and also we have Nigel Phillips, Gender Officer at the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Good morning, Nigel. Good morning, Terry, and welcome. Nigel, how are you?
Hi, good. I'm great. I'm good this morning. I'm really, really good. Yeah.
Great. It's wonderful to have you here. I know you said that you were in the office just a little bit earlier than usual, so we'll say welcome to the dark side. How are you doing today?
Yeah. I would say, you guys are up much earlier than I am and at work. So for me, coming in these hours is like, is a one-off situation, but it's not a problem. But I'm really good today. It's a little bit rainy outside, but I'm good. Yeah.
Wonderful to hear that, and wonderful that it's not a problem. We're so happy that you took the time to have a conversation with us this morning. So let's talk about the Green Bench Talk initiative. How did it originate, and what initiated that collaboration between your group and CEDAW?
Well, the CEDAW group has been networking with the gender unit in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection for over 5 years plus. And we have engaged in various programs that speaks into the issues of gender-based violence and programs that deals with protections against women and girls. So we would have did several collaboration with schools, communities, and villages throughout Tobago. And with this initiative, when I heard about it, I thought it would have been something very instrumental that we can have these benches, positioned in various places in the division, health centers, we have public health, and some schools, one or two schools that have messages that talks about ending violence against women and girls.
It's wonderful to hear that. Now, what about the let's talk about how the collaboration has enhanced this initiative, because of course with the gender unit you work arduously on ensuring that there is awareness and so much more. So what about this initiative so far? How has that collaboration assisted in continuing to propel the growth of the gender-based unit?
Well, okay. For example, with this initiative, what happens is that besides the benches, we have the benches being positioned in various positions. So they have these messages that you talk about ending violence against women and girls, and then what happens as well, we have other programs that talks into that in terms of training persons, communities, stakeholders, first responders in dealing with those situations. So, like for example, today we also have a shelter management workshop which will be commencing today by another organization, which we are equipping persons with the ability to open shelters to assist persons in crisis. And also recently we have also had a case management workshop in terms of how to deal with cases when those cases come to us for those persons affected by violence. So these type of collaborations enhance our work. That what we do is not just about one particular group, but we work with several various groups across Trinidad and Tobago, and also with various different groups in Tobago to send out those messages and to provide the necessary networking and assistance for persons who are working with victims of violence or domestic violence or abuse or all sorts of violence that affects women and girls.
It's fascinating to hear all of the different groups that are involved with the unit and the different initiatives that you just mentioned. And I'm sure that there are so many more that we could have conversations on, especially as
Yes.
we continue to work towards eliminating violence against women and girls. So one of the things that I would love to know, and I know the public would love to know as well, is what the response is like when the gender unit goes out to these different organizations. Do you see investment from stakeholders, let's say from corporate Trinidad and Tobago as well, to be a part of the push for change and the elimination of violence against women and girls?
The responses could be varying, responses from community, responses basically from the networking agencies. So when we talk about first responders, we talk about maybe the protective services, we talk about social workers, and all these different persons who provide this service. So when you're dealing with any issues of gender-based violence, we have to look at the cost factor. Even though we at the gender unit may have a budget to work with to carry various programs to different communities, we depend on agencies like CEDAW, the UNFPA, different organizations who will network with us to provide that assistance. So they may provide training, we might provide the space for these events to happen. But anytime you're dealing with that, you have to look at the cost because cost is always a major factor. So we're networking with and joining funds together would only enhance the work that we do with what we do in the Division of Health, Wellness, and Social Protection, and also the work that these other agencies do as well in collaboration with us.
Thank you so much for sharing, Nigel. So as you mentioned CEDAW, let's bring Terry Ince into the conversation this morning. Founder. Good morning, Terry. How are you?
Good morning. I'm just doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's a pleasure for you to be with us on the show this morning. I'm very excited to hear a little bit about this collaboration between CEDAW and the Gender Unit. Can you share with us how this Green Bench Talk initiative originated?
Sure. So CEDAW is this convention to the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Our organization, which is CCOT, which is the CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. We were established 5 years ago. This is our 5th anniversary, actually, this year. And so our focus has always been to enhance the information, to ensure that there is advocacy, education, and public awareness, and ensure the to ensure the implementation of the articles of the CEDAW Convention. This is a convention that, of course, our country, Trinidad and Tobago, signed and ratified in 1990. And through this convention, it pretty much spells out everything that we can do as a society to ensure women and girls substantive equality, gender-based violence, and the elimination of that gender-based violence, of course, being one of them, but it's one of many areas that CEDAW addresses. This collaboration, the Green Bench Talk initiative, came about through some discussions we had as an organization, and looking at what we do with our environment and marrying the environmental issues, like removing plastics out of our waste, out of our drainage, out of our landfills, removing the plastic that is irresponsibly disposed, doing something substantive with that plastic, but also doing it in a manner that can address social issues. So marrying the social issues with an environmental issue, and the social issue, of course, is eliminating violence against women and girls. There's a third element of this, which is how is that plastic changed from plastic into benches, and those benches are made from plastic lumber. That lumber is created by an organization that we partnered with, which is the Flying Tree Environmental Management Company in Arima, that actually that does the whole processing of turning the plastic into plastic lumber, and then using that lumber to create the benches. So it's an entire upcycling process that is made right here in Trinidad and Tobago, and using the plastic, of course, to create the benches, placing the benches, like Nigel said, in strategic places, partnering with other organizations, such as the Gender Unit in the Division of Health and Wellness, and ensuring that this information is in the public domain in various ways, as opposed to just in various ways. So people can have conversations. You may be walking by a bench and have a seat on the bench, and it sparks a conversation because the benches have these specific messages. Very important message being, of course, the 800 SAVE number, or the number whether if you're in Trinidad, and the number to call if you're in Tobago, if you're in need of any kind of support. And then other messages around the ways of mitigating violence against women and girls.
That's something that's so beautiful. So we're seeing prompts on benches and benches strategically placed. Now, either Terry or Nigel, this question is for both of you, because honestly, I'm not too sure who's going to have the direct answer, but how many benches are going to be launched tomorrow? And is this something that's ongoing? So are we going to see a few launched tomorrow and see more in the future?
I'll have...
Yeah, Terry, okay. Uh-huh.
No, I think Nigel should take that, and I'll be happy to add to it if necessary.
Yeah, okay. So we looked at the benches would have been launched for in commemoration of the 16 days of activism, which start right after the elimination of violence against women, which was on November 25th. So since it's 16 days of activism, we would launch 16 benches in various locations across Trinidad and Tobago. As I indicated, that those benches would be launched throughout various health centers where we networked with Tobago Regional Health Authority, TRHA. We would have networked with also with public health, because public health, this is a big entity, because we're looking at the bottles of green recycle, and that is also a public health. So we network with public health and other schools and those things, that we will have those messages implanted throughout those locations. So 16 benches, the launch would be tomorrow, and that launch will be at the Bartlett Health Center, Scarborough Health Center in Bartlett. And we would have media presence and everyone there who would be able to see what the benches look like, and the messages that would be on the benches implanted.
Wonderful. Terry, you said you'd like to add?
Yes, and that's a great question. The benches, as Nigel said, will be launched tomorrow in that specific space, but there will be other benches being installed throughout Tobago and Trinidad for the remainder of the year. This initiative began as a result of support from the UNDP GEF, which is the Global Environmental Facility Small Grants Program. And so we've been installing these benches. We started in, I want to say, April of 2023. Of course, 16 days of activism. It is significant that these benches be installed and the advocacy around mitigating violence against women and girls be heightened. But this initiative will continue throughout the remainder of this week, the remainder of the year, and in both Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, we love the fact that you mentioned for the remainder of the year, because my next question really is, in both of your opinions, we'll start with you first, Terry. What about measures that are going to be implemented to ensure the longevity of this particularly? Because let's be fair, we see benches, we see prompts, but we don't necessarily engage in particular conversations after the trend dies down. So are there going to be any sort of public awareness campaigns and so forth? Terry?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it speaks to the sustainability of not only the benches, because, again, the benches being made of plastic lumber are pretty easy to maintain, but the sustainability of ensuring that people understand why these benches are there. They're not just to sit in the messaging. The messages on the benches should be prompting all of us to be engaging in not only conversations, but in actionizing things. What can we do as citizens to end violence against women and girls? It takes the entire society to do this, so we need to start changing the narrative on what that even means, what we accept as normal behavior, and what we accept as not normal behavior, and what to do about it. Nigel already mentioned ongoing interventions that are made at the gender unit, where they have webinars and seminars on violence against women and girls. We, CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, continue to do our advocacy with all stakeholders to raise awareness, but also to educate people on what can be done in one own self at night. So the 800 number, or the number of the phone number for the Division of Health, that would be placed on the benches, that are on the benches. That's one place you can take action. If you see something, you can do something about it. If you don't want to get involved physically yourself, you can make a phone call to get the police or authorities involved that something is happening that should not be happening from a violent, a person is being taken advantage of in some fashion. There are ways that we ourselves can protect ourselves from these things, and that again is shared with individuals via seminars, webinars, just having conversations, going out into communities and doing community outreach. We've done that a lot here in Trinidad in several communities in Trinidad and in Tobago as well. So there are ways of doing this ongoing. It's not a one-time thing, as you said. It's not a one-off thing. It's a conversation that has to continue, but it must also resonate so that the behavior change. And behavior change does not happen overnight. So it must be consistent. It must be substantive so that the behavior must change eventually.
Couldn't agree more. Now, Nigel, of course, what was just mentioned there by Terry would have been some of the seminars, webinars, and other initiatives that are undertaken by the gender-based unit to ensure, of course, that this is something that is an ongoing initiative. So in addition to that, are there any ways that you actually measure the success of these initiatives, not just with CDOR, of course, but with other organizations?
Okay, so as I would have also endorsed what Ms. In said, Terry, with regards consistency, because in order to see behavioral change, you need to be consistent. It's not just like a one-off. And in order to see behavioral change, is that you have to have established networking relationship with the various agencies. So it's not just one agency, but all agencies collaborating together. How do we measure the success? We measure the success through behavioral change by seeing more reporting happening. We're seeing more persons having access to the program so that they can engage and be empowered. We see those behavior change in the sense of that how persons come in or accessing information and talking more about the issue and persons advocating more into the issues and seeing other persons accessing those groups to be partnered or to be part of those groups to be part of that change so other persons could know with the various messages or through their experiences as well, because behavior change also persons coming forward to say, well, I have been through this, I have experienced this what worked for me. And so it's all about working together. So as a gender unit, we could assure you, along with other units in the Division of Health, Wellness, and Social Protection, all our programs are targeted to assisting persons in the communities. All our programs is about empowering persons, women, and whoever decides to come into the division for whatever assistance. Is all about empowering each other and bringing programs to assist persons in empowering those persons that we help each and every day.
Definitely empowering one another and, of course, resonating again that theme of community throughout our conversation this morning. So, Terry, I'd love to just come to you before we wrap our conversation this morning. Do you have any closing comments and words of encouragement for Trinidad and Tobago when it comes not just to this initiative, but the elimination of violence against women and girls?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again for the opportunity. We are delighted at CDOR Committee of Trinidad and Tobago to be partnering with the Division of Health and Wellness in Tobago on this initiative, but this is something that we want to also continue throughout the year. It is critical that we collaborate across the board with all stakeholders, private sector, public sector, other NGOs, community organizations, and the average citizen in the community. And to tag back to your question about measuring, the fact that more people are speaking about violence against women and girls and the fact that it is something that we should not be accepting, but speaking about it openly is a measurement of behavior change. It is a measurement that people are taking it seriously and no longer afraid, or it's no longer this secret that only happens in your home and nobody is supposed to know about it. So that's a great indication that change is happening. We have to be hopeful that this behavior is going to be eliminated, and we must continue to work assiduously every day until it is. And I am very hopeful that it will be.
Insightful, and of course, hope is definitely a theme that we can all resonate with, not just in the Christmas season, but throughout our lives. Nigel, closing comments?
My closing comments will be very simple in the sense is that we are the gender unit in the Division of Health, Wellness, and Social Protection. It's not just about the gender unit, but we have all the other units in the division that provide those assistance to persons. So we welcome all persons in Tobago who want that assistance in the sense of empowering, in terms of helping you to direct that path to self-independency. And we will always be here to support regardless of what the situation. We are open to support everyone, no prejudice. Every creed and race will find an equal place, and we're right here to give that support to everyone. So that's my closing comment to the people of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago as well.
Absolutely
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Nigel. And thank you so much, Terry, for joining us this morning on the Now Morning Show. Looking forward to having you back so we can continue the conversation and get some updates on the initiative. All the best at the launch tomorrow.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you for having us, and happy holidays.
Bye. Same to you. Right.